Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Jacob. I'm a man who works hard, believes in earning my way, taking responsibility, and standing by the people I care about. But if there's one painful truth life has taught me, it's this: loving the wrong people can break you. I learned that lesson the hard way. This is how everything fell apart. When I first met Diana, she was a widow raising 2 young children on her own. Benjamin was 4, full of life, zipping around with toy cars, constantly asking questions. Elle was just a toddler, barely able to walk, holding on to her mother everywhere she went. Their father, a military officer, had died in the line of duty. He was a hero, but heroes don't come home. That left Diana to hold everything together alone, juggling 2 kids and a life that was crumbling around her. I could see the exhaustion in her. I saw a woman who had been through hell, try to manage everything by herself. So I stepped in, not because I was asked, not because I was obligated, but because I wanted to. I wanted to give those kids stability, to be the father they had lost, and to make sure they never felt an empty space in their lives. And for years, that's exactly what I did. I worked long hours, but I never let my job pull me away from them. I made sure Benjamin and Elle had what they needed: good schools, nice clothes, a safe home, and dinner on the table every night. But I didn't just provide financially. I was present. I went to every school event, clapping the loudest in the front row. Every birthday came with cake, gifts, and laughter. Every vacation was filled with moments I thought they'd treasure forever. They didn't just call me Jacob. They called me Dad. And I believed it. They loved me like a father, and I loved them as if they were my own blood. I felt like the luckiest man alive. But life has a way of reminding you that nothing stays perfect. It started with little comments, minor jabs, small acts of disrespect. I brushed them off, thinking it was just a phase. I told myself, they're growing up, it's normal. But I was wrong. I had no idea what was coming. People say raising teenagers is tough. They get moody. They test limits. They think they know it all. I expected that. What I didn't expect was how fast everything I had built would be thrown back in my face. When Benjamin turned 17, he decided rules no longer applied to him. He stayed out late, ignored curfews, and treated my advice like background noise. Elle, at 14, followed his lead, rolling her eyes, brushing off my words, acting like nothing I said mattered. If I asked them to clean up, they wouldn't. If I reminded them about homework, they'd just walk away. Attempts at meaningful talks went nowhere. And when I tried to set boundaries, they fought back hard. All I wanted was basic respect. But to them, rules were oppression, and I was the oppressor. The worst part? Every time they pushed back, I glanced at Diana, expecting her to back me up. She never did. She'd stay silent, glued to her phone, or sigh as if I was the unreasonable one. At first, I made excuses. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she didn't want more arguments. But over time, I realized the truth. She was allowing it. And that should have been my first warning sign. The night everything shifted is burned into my memory. Benjamin came home past midnight. No text, no call, just waltzing like he owned the place. I didn't yell. I calmly asked where he had been. I expected at least a shred of guilt. Instead, he rolled his eyes and muttered, "Relax, I'm not a kid." I told him, "If you live under my roof, you follow my rules. If you can't respect that, we have a problem." He stared at me and said, "You're not my real dad. Stop acting like you own me." My whole body went cold. Then Elle chimed in, "Yeah, you're just some guy Mom married." I turned to Diana, waiting for her to correct them, to say they were out of line. She said nothing. No anger. No disappointment. Just nothing. That was the moment something inside me cracked. You'd think after all those years of sacrifice, there would be a limit to how much disrespect I'd take. But no, it got worse. A few days later, it happened again. This time, it was over something as simple as a mess in the kitchen, dirty dishes, crumbs everywhere, juice spilled on the floor. I told Elle calmly to clean it up. She looked me in the eye and said, "Why don't you do it? It's your house, isn't it?" Before I could respond, Benjamin jumped in. Why are you always trying to boss us around? You're not even our real dad. And then Diana, without even looking up from her phone, said, They have a point, Jacob. Maybe you should ease up. I can't explain the feeling in that moment. It wasn't just hurt. It was clarity. That night, I sat in the dark, thinking about all the years I had poured into that family. And I made a decision. I was done. No more rides to school. No more allowances. No more protecting them when they got into trouble. No more advice. No more stepping in. No more fatherly concern. They didn't want a dad? Fine. Let them see what life was like without one. At first, they thought it was a joke. Benjamin and Elle laughed about not having to deal with me, bossing them around. Diana filled the gap, took them shopping, kept their weekends full of fast food and spending sprees. She made sure they stayed comfortable, convinced they didn't need me, but I knew something they didn't. Diana couldn't afford it without me. Slowly, the cracks appeared. Shopping trips became smaller. Fast food outings less frequent. Closets stopped filling with new clothes. School fees became a problem. Benjamin got into trouble at school. Normally, I'd handle it. Not this time. Elle's phone broke. Usually, I'd replace it. Not this time. They even had to start taking the bus. It took about a month before Diana cracked. She confronted me in the kitchen, angry, accusing me of being childish, of neglecting my responsibilities. That word hit me. Responsibilities. Not love, not respect, just obligation. I asked her, why do you never defend me? Why do you let them talk to me like that? And she said it. The truth I'd suspected for a long time. Because I agree with them, Jacob. You were never really their father. I raised them alone before you, and I can do it again. Any remaining emotion I had froze in that moment. Benjamin and Elle stood in the hallway, smirking. That was who they truly were. From that point, I quietly documented everything. The insults, the destruction of my things, even the threats. I consulted a lawyer, gathered police reports, and built my exit plan. When it was ready, I left divorce papers on the kitchen counter, along with copies of my evidence. Then I walked away. Bank accounts closed. My belongings with me. She had nothing left to claim. Her calls came, angry, blaming me for abandoning the family. The irony was almost laughable. Months passed. Then the messages from the kids started. First casual, then apologetic. We should have treated you better. Things have been hard since you left. I miss you. I never replied. Because I had finally learned, never beg for respect. Never let people treat you like convenience. And when you realize you're being used, walk away. Leaving was the hardest thing I've done. Not because I wanted them, but because for so long I believed staying made me a good man. It doesn't. A man who values himself leaves when he's not appreciated. Now, I live for me, my work, my goals, my happiness. I spend time with people who truly care. I wake up free, and that is how I took my life back.